Hey, happy 4th of July, everybody. Especially if you're from the United States, you might not get as much out of it if you're not from the United States, but I am, and yeah, and I'm very grateful. Anyhow, it's finally time. It is time after a year. It's been a year since I've done one of these. We're doing a ranking. I played through all of the Oblivion main quests, almost all of the Daedric quests, and a few side quests in Oblivion. Um, I do have a. If you're ever curious, if you prefer main quests, if you watch my Let's Plays, I'm pretty thorough. I get through all the main quests. If you like side quests, I kind of pick out side quests that look intriguing. And I have so far I've mainly stuck with Skyrim, but I plan on expanding to things like maybe the Witcher, Cyberpunk, some of these different open world side quests. Uh, if you want to check out my side quest series, that'd be super cool. At any rate, so here we go. I can't believe I'm still here. I can't believe I have an audience. It's amazing. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you guys choosing to watch my channel, and I hope I'm entertaining. I appreciate your patience. Here we go. We're doing it. We're doing the Oblivion, and we're gonna test my memory. We're gonna see how old Fuddy Duddy Donald Plays does. So first of all, we're going to rank the quests. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, out of the quests, I felt like the Dark Brotherhood quest was had some of the best quests in the game, as far as like having the Minotaur's head like fall on the guy, and going and murdering that dinner party, disguising and hobnobbing, and it was very mischievous. But I felt like they had some of the more creative quests in the game. The Fighters Guild. The Fighters Guild tragically wasn't that memorable for me. I know that there was a lot of internal politics of the Fighters Guild. I guess like the competition with the Blackwood Company, I guess might push up to A tier, where there are two kind of Fighters Guilds that are competing for contracts, and that was kind of interesting. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll keep it here for now. The Mage Guild, I really wanted to like. And I would say that if it was just to get into the Mage Guild, before you even can get into the university in the Imperial City, you have to go through and get the approval of each Mage Guild head. And the quests that you get from each of the individual Mage Guild heads was very interesting. Especially the one in Shaidenal, where he's trying to trick you by killing you, by having you go retrieve this ring from a well, and the ring is like a ring of burden, and you're supposed to drown down there, and it's crazy. And like just the internal politics of the mage guilds, and the disposition of the different chapter heads makes that part interesting. But I felt like once I got to the main university, I think there wasn't that much to do at the university. Although I don't know, the necromancer answer return, the Manimarco King of Worms, uh just the research, the kind of the detective work and research, I would say, I guess the main quest, then thinking about the main quest of the Mage Guild, was pretty good. I think I'd put that in A tier. Or B. I think I might put Fighters Guild in B tier. Nah, I'll keep it here. Okay. Let's see. The Thieves Guild. The Thieves Guild was kind of interesting in that you are some of the different assignments were kind of interesting, but the idea of you becoming the gray fox and actually uh, donning the cowl and being erased from history, as it were, like the whole kind of like magical properties and the link with the elder and stealing an elder scroll is pretty insane. So, and the idea that the learning that the elder scrolls might be like reality, might be dictated by the elder scrolls, like if you write something in the elder scrolls that might manifest into reality, and just the great heist of taking the elder scrolls was pretty crazy, pretty entertaining. um I guess I don't know. I think all of the I think all of the main quests were pretty good, actually, now I think about it. uh the arena, um I would say the arena is actually B tier. It's cool if you want to like grind and get some skills, but if you fought one arena battle, you fought them all. It's kind of a, it's not really story driven. Although it's kind of neat to try to do the different battles, and there's the side quests you do for the Great Prince, and there's some different things that kind of make it interesting. But on the whole, I would say the arena was probably my one of my least favorite quest lines in the game. Um, the main story, I would say that the main story was really good. Like in regards to like Maroon Stagon and Mankar Cameron and the intrigue of with the overthrow of the Empire and the rise of the Mythic Dawn and the bring of the apocalypse. Uh, I felt like the the concept of the story was like S tier, but I would say if if it wasn't for it being such a good story, if it was just based on the merit of gameplay, I'd say on the merit of gameplay, it might be B tier, just because I felt like, and then I have to be forgiving, and I'm sure like I know the new Oblivions come out. I still kind of prefer the original Oblivion stylistically in a lot of ways, but I don't know if they changed it up. But I feel like there's a lot of variety in Cyrodiil, and it's a beautiful kind of a breathtaking game, even still today, in my opinion. But I felt like Oblivion, although when you first go to Oblivion, um, it's very gothic and morbid and really well done in that you feel that hellish atmosphere of Oblivion and the plains of Oblivion, and it is kind of in like the the Daedra designs and the towers and the lava, the lakes of lava, and the just it makes it really um breathtaking in like kind of a like gothic morbid way, and the it's well done. But like as you proceed through all of the planes of Oblivion for the different quests, you go to Oblivion a lot in Oblivion, which I mean the game's named Oblivion, but and it's kind of repetitious, which I mean fits the description of like it's supposed to be kind of like hell in a way, like a plane of hell, and it just the repetition gets to me after a while. It kind of wears me down, which might be the effect that they wanted, but I feel like in the main quest line you go to Oblivion a lot, and I just kind of like I got a little tired of grinding through Daedra and Oblivion and wandering through like all these hellish landscapes, and just it kind of got to me after a while. Um, so if it wasn't for the storyline, I'd put it on B tier, or if it before as far as gameplay goes. But a lot of the story and uncovering the plot to bring about the apocalypse is pretty entertaining. So I put it in S tier. Super. Okay, so let's keep going. Cities. As far as cities go, um, I would say my favorite city would go in S tier, would be Super. I'd say Anvil, just it being a city I love. And I'm kind of not going by the denizens and quests of the city. I'm going by pure aesthetics for this bowl or this ranking. So Anvil is this beautiful kind of Greco-Roman romantic kind of Mediterranean, uh, um, Italy and Greece, like on the coast, like just kind of, you're on the ocean and it's just the architecture's very Mediterranean style, and you have, um, kind of the tiled roofs, the red tiled roofs, and the castle kind of on an island, and the lighthouse, and just super romantic. It's very relaxing and calming, and just a very just beautiful city. I would say I Leyawen is an A tier. I would say Leyawen has that kind of romantic southern, um, Louisiana, Mississippi sort of south, where you have these giant buildings, that are reminiscent of like the architecture there, and you kind of have a swampy feel to everything, and it's kind of romantic and kind of a dreary, kind of misty, rainy, swampy kind of feel, but yet is very enchanting, very beautiful. A lot of people, including myself, like that kind of romantic, idealized, South, like Midwest South, with like, especially Mississippi, Louisiana, the that kind of French Creole culture and, architecture, and just that kind of romantic, you know, making a life out of the swamp, and you have these enchanting buildings that are surrounded by, the rain, and the just kind of a morose beauty, but very romantic. Yeah, I would say Leywin. Yeah, A tier. Uh, Coral. Um, Coral is kind of a good sort of standard medieval town. Um, I like it, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe but B tier. I know that they have the Fighters Guild there and the castle, and I can't remember that much about Coral other than the monastery. I think the monastery really adds to it being kind of that, traditional medieval style, um city. Um yeah. Yeah, B tier by no means is bad. It's just not very memorable, I guess. Kavash, Kabash, Kabach. We'll put in D tier because it's not a city. It's just is burnt to a crisp because there's an Oblivion gate in it. Um, I would say Shidenal is in my super tier, and that it's probably my favorite architectural design. It has almost like a sort of east meets west. They have these like beautiful willow trees in the town, and, just the purple. It's got a barbarian feel to it, but yet the buildings they have these kind of, Japanese style like bridges, and almost like this kind of like Zen garden kind of thing going on, which is very romantic. They have, um just the buildings, the architecture, the weather is usually pretty nice. Um, the castle is really cool. Um, has these kind of romantic rivers that kind of snake their way through, the city, and, it just is very enchanting. But there's a lot of like it's, it's just on pure architecture level. I'm not really going by the denizens of the city or the quests or anything. I would say it's a super tier. Bruma, I'd say Bruma's an A tier. Uh, if Skyrim hadn't come out, I might push it a little bit higher. But Skyrim really captures the Nord lifestyle to a crisp. But Bruma, how do you say, it's like the Nord city of Cyrodiil, and it is really well made, and it just it's got that romantic, cozy sort of the giant wooden structures, the long houses kind of style, just giving it kind of a romantic, you want to like quickly get to inside and warm your hands by the fire and have some good Nord mead and maybe some venison or some kind of meat that's cooking on a spit on the fire, and just sort of kind of it's got a beautiful charm to it that is kind of a roughshod, like Skyrim. If you look at the details, Skyrim goes a lot more detail into actual Scandinavian architecture, which is actually very intricate and has a lot of kind of a Celtic influence, or influence the Celts, either or. I don't know the history of how things, who started what, but like a lot of Celtic knots and sort of a, I think Skyrim just does it better. Otherwise, Room would be higher on the list. Room still kind of captures it a little bit, but it's not nearly, it's not close to the Skyrim epicness, but it's a good city. Skingrad, I'd be tempted to put it in super tier, but I would say the only thing that keeps me from putting it in super tier is I feel actually claustrophobic when I'm in it. I think it has a very beautiful sort of feel of like the spires and the streets being so narrow, but there being so much going on, like so many different shops and things and inns and all kinds of cool stuff. The castle is the creme a la creme, like the Skingrad castle with the it's just, the architecture is beautiful, and the bridge that you have to cross over to get to it. But I don't know. It just, when I'm wandering through the city, after a while, I do feel like closed in. I feel like claustrophobic. Breville, I don't know. Breville, just architecturally, I would put it on C tier. And I know that's harsh. There's some neat quests. I think the Mage Guild is kind of neat looking in Breville, and there is a charm to things being run down, but it's just kind of a shanty town, and I feel like that's what it's supposed to be. But I feel like there's not a lot of variation, and it's just all these shanties stacked on top of shanties, and I feel like Riften is kind of a shanty town in a lot of ways from Skyrim, but they do it a lot better. Yeah, so there's my cities ranking. Okay, now onto the races. So I'm going to do what I did for the last video, which I'm going to take an objective viewpoint. And the last ranking video I did for Skyrim, which I might actually be playing again, which I would be excited to do. I just got the anniversary update. How do you say, I did from the perspective of the Nords, how the Nords were the main denizens of Skyrim would view the other races, and it could vary. You have to watch that video, but it's it's from the Nord perspective, and this is the Imperial perspective, and I think the Imperial perspective is a lot more accepting. I don't think the Nords are like the least accepting. I actually made a case in the video that the Nords are more accepting than people think they are, because I think people kind of give them a bad rap for being like um not like, not being accepting of outsiders. But I think, I make a good case in that video that Nords are actually, they have certain specifications that they might gravitate more towards, because Nords are warriors, so they would kind of gravitate more towards like fighting races that are known for their prowess in battle, um, versus races that they would perceive as weaker or magical, because Nords have a don't like magic as much. That kind of, turns their buttons. But like, so this is from the Imperial perspective. I just noticed some of these images are a little cut off from the top, but you get the idea. So let's see. Let's do the High Elves first. I would say the High Elves are the Altmer. I would say that the Empire actually. That's a tricky question, because it depends. All this depends on what era, and I can't remember the era that the Oblivion is set in. I know it's like during the Oblivion Gate crisis, but I'd say like the Altmeri, they're wary of them, because the Altmeri is a empire on the rise, but they also work together on a lot of things, like the White Gold Concord, which is maybe the Empire's way of maintaining stability. But I don't know, maybe the Empire probably has a tenuous relationship up and down. But I would say on the whole, they probably get along pretty well. I would say the Argonians probably. I would say that the Argonians, they probably get on pretty well, because the Imperials are very diplomatic. So they would view a lot of. They want to integrate. Like they have made pushings into all the realms. There's not really a realm in Tamriel that I can think of offhand. And again, I'm not like a Elder Scrolls historian. I don't. I just like. I think it's a neat game, but like, how do you say? The world they created is pretty like Tolkien-esque, like very in depth. But I would say that, I can't think of a place where the Imperials have not gone and been willing to try to cooperate with the local population to bring them into the fold of the Empire. And again, like, you can look and say that the Imperials' perspective is wrong, or the Imperial perspective is right, or, that it's actually more beneficial for all these different realms to be part of the Empire, or it's even because it's to their benefit, or, it's to the Empire's benefit, or etc. But I'm just looking from their perspective. So the Imperials themselves, the citizens, like if you go to the Imperial City, you see all walks of life there. Or if you go to Skyrim, primarily you see Nords everywhere, and in Morrowind, you see Dark Elves everywhere, and a lot of places are more, just the dominant race of the region tends to be, the dominant race of the region naturally. But in the Imperials seem to integrate. They do a lot of integration. So I would say, they actually might be one of the few. Like, a lot of races look down on the Argonians, but I'd say the Empire. I've seen a lot of Argonian people that own businesses and are in positions of authority and stuff in Cyrodiil. So I would say that they're probably on the same level as the high elves, which depending, the high elves are kind of, maybe a little bit of, known as kind of the stabs of Elder Scrolls, although they are also very adept and long lived and have a lot of magic. Um, the Wood Elves, I would say, are probably up there. I know that the Empire probably has, in Cyrodiil, we're talking about in Cyrodiil, we're not talking about other places. This might be different from other places because I know like the Wood Elves, the Argonians, like Black Marsh and Valenwood are really hard places to like for the Empire to settle and to actually form an empire in. So I would understand why uh, that might be, they might be lower on the list depending on, if you're an Imperial citizen in the Imperial City and you see a bunch of different races from different walks of life, it's probably pretty normal. And, everyone might have their own private prejudices, but everyone kind of gets along and friendships and bonds are formed and there's people melt. It's kind of a melting pot. So like, but if you're like an Imperial garrison of soldiers like way out in Black Marsh or Morrowind or Valenwood or some of these other colonies, like it might actually be like a different like mentality. The Bretons from High Rock, I'd say, are probably on the same tier. Um, I feel like the Bretons, through most of their history, have been so divided that they haven't been able to form like an empire like the Imperials. Um, and the Imperials aren't necessarily like a warrior race, but they're well known for their military prowess, and they're more of a kind of a merchant driven empire expansion. And again, with these two are more magical, Bretons and high elves. So like the Altmer and the Bretons. But how do you say? The Imperials aren't necessarily like known for magic, but they're not adverse to it, and they so unlike the Nords that are kind of they're superstitious towards people that practice magic, the Imperials, don't feel the same way. Uh, I would say the Dark Elves are the Dunmer. Um, I don't know. I would say that I would say that in the Empire they would be here, but again, it goes to that situation where I think the Dark Elves, I think the Wood Elves, I think the Argonians, so I think especially Black Marsh, Valenwood, and Morrowind are all very exclusive in a lot of ways, like, and have very uh, cultures that are set in their ways. And where if you went to Somerset Isle, if you put outposts out there, the high elves would snob you, but they their lands are not as unforgiving. In Morrowind, you have the Red Mountain, and you have the ash storms and the Corpus zombies, and you have all kinds of just you know. So I think culturally, I think that on a cultural level, I would say that the practices of the Argonians, the Wood Elves, and the Dark Elves would actually, um, and I think maybe even, let's see. I don't know if there's anyone that the Imperialists would get on in a super way. I would, but like, I think that these guys here culturally would be so different from the Imperials that they'd still try to incorporate their imperial influence, where the Bretons and the Altmer have kind of a structured society, where the Dunmer have these great houses, but they're a lot more tribal. Valenwood is a kind of a very wild culture. Argonia is kind of also tribal in a lot of ways. Um, okay, yeah, super tier. I think being an imperial citizen would put you would be considered like I think that Imperials would still view themselves in the most favorable light, although I think they would be a lot more accepting of other races. I would say that Imperials would still, well, I don't know. We're not talking about going to other places. So this is other cultures integrating into the Empire. So I would say that the Imperials would actually be cool with all these people, because the unlike Skyrim or Morrowind, especially if you play Morrowind, uh, these all these races that I've encountered in Cyrodiil, there doesn't seem to be a lot of tension. They seem to be integrating into the Empire well. Um, so I'd say, yeah, the Khajiit probably. Um, yeah, I don't see as many Khajiit in Oblivion. I know that they're around. Well, I feel like the Khajiit and the Argonians tend to be more in Leyawiin, the city of Leyawiin. They tend to be a little more down south. The Nords being closer to up north. I would say that the Nords have kind of a strong spirit to them that would make them hard to control. And I think that the Empire likes civility, like the Bretons, and I think in a way the Dunmer are that way. Um, I feel like most of the other races fall in line, but I feel like the Dunmer and the Nords share kind of a I don't know, like a strong spirit of independence. Like they really like to do their own thing. They don't really like, where the Imperials are more instructed and have kind of a lot of laws and ways of doing things. And so I feel like they might view Nords and uh, the Dark Elves Dunmer a little bit more unfavorably, just because they're like very much free spirited, I guess. Um, the Orcs are probably kind of similar in that the Orcs are also kind of like hard to control. And then I don't think the Imperials like dictatorships. I think they want to have order through an empire that allows people to practice their own cultural ways within the confines of the empire. But these characters would, I feel, would really push against the empire, even in Cyrodiil. Like they might abide by the rules for the most part, but they would be the most likely to complain, the most likely to kind of maybe rebel or go off on their own way. I feel like the Red Guards are, I don't know a lot about. I know Elder Scrolls 6 is supposed to be Hammerfell, um, and but it's hard telling what the exact culture of the Red Guards is. But I don't know a lot about them, but they seem to have a pretty civil society, um, in the Elder Scrolls. Um, yeah. So yeah, I don't think anyone would fall into a C or D tier. I don't think that the Empire would even dislike anyone on the B tier. They might find things that, because the Imperials have really admire military discipline. They might look down on the Nords for the Nords being uh, um, undisciplined, and the same with the Dunmer. In a lot of ways, the Dunmer are probably more disciplined within their own culture, but they're a lot more uh, Dunmer for the Dunmer kind of ideology. And they might the orcs are pretty wild and very very strong, so they're hard to make to submit if they stand up against them. But I think that even the Imperials would look at, like, they admire the craft of a disciplined army, and they might see the Nords and the orcs admire the warrior aspects about them, or there are things, because they also like culture, and they like taking, I mean, part of it is to keep the peace by letting everyone keep their culture alive, but I think part of it is that the Imperials like knowledge, and they're very interested in all these different cultures, and like to kind of view and explore the different cultures. So yeah, I don't think that they would necessarily dislike anyone strongly on this list. At least, maybe during a certain era or another, depending on their interactions. I think later on, with the rise of the Altmeri Dominion, I think that there's some more tension between the Altmeri and the Imperials, just because of that kind of the Thalmor faction. But the Thalmor faction within the Altmeri Dominion kind of creates tension with all these different races. So yeah, well, there's that tier, and this one is pretty ambitious. This is the quest. The quest. Now, I'm not going to remember hardly any of these, but I'm going to try to remember the ones that I did. We didn't do them all for sure. I would say that the Sanguine, with the dinner party where you just create havoc, and everybody runs away, and they're skivvies. They're not, but it just creates confusion and havoc, and it's kind of silly. Um, Hermaeus Mora is kind of interesting, where um, you have to collect the different races from around Tamriel, so you learn a bit about each culture, because he's the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, and he basically wants you to go around and unfortunately you kill someone from every walk of life in Cyrodiil, but you also gain more knowledge, and it's kind of interesting that he is fascinated by um the obtaining of knowledge. But I have a Daedric poll here, so I don't want to go too far on here. Unexpected Voyage was one of my favorite um quests, as far as, like, that's one of the first quests I remember when I first played Oblivion, like, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. Yeah, probably like maybe like 14 to 17 years ago. I can't remember. Like, I when I played this game, the Unexpected Voyage, there's this inn in Cyrodiil that's on a boat, and it's in the harbor, and when you go to stay there, it's hijacked by pirates during the night, and you have to fight your way through them, and gain control of the vessel. It's pretty original. Um, I like the origin of the Grey Prince. It's kind of a sad story, where you're fighting in the arena, and there's this legendary fighter called the Grey Prince. He's this kind of light grayish orc, and he wants you to research his background because he's part of a noble family, and you discover that he's a vampire. And when you tell him, he's the final boss in the arena, and he just like lets you kill him because he's so depressed. So I mean, the story of him being a vampire is kind of interesting, but like him like just giving up on life and just letting you kill him at the end as the final achievement in the arena is actually it's kind of depressing. He's kind of a cool character, but it's kind of a depressing story. And I'd say the arena's kind of fun to grind through, not like quest wise, but combat wise. I'd say the arena, but it gets pretty repetitive. You can also bet on the fighters, which is kind of interesting, but you know, after so many fights, it just becomes repetition. But it does, I don't know. I'd say that the arena, you get like a different experience for a while of like they throw different types of fighters at you, like both magic and traditional. So it gives you kind of a well-rounded feel to your character. Where spirits have lease, I would say is up there. Actually, I'll go ahead. I'll say these. The Daedric quests were cool, but I would say the Daedric quests in Oblivion are interesting, but nowhere near as entertaining as Skyrim. I think Oblivion has some side quests and some main quests that, in a lot of ways, the writing is better than Skyrim. I know that might be like, I mean, in the Skyrim main quests are really, really good, but I feel like Oblivion just some exceptional writing on, especially some of the side quests. But I feel like the Daedric quests in a Skyrim are so much better. Anvil, where the spirits have lease. It's basically you're going to the city of Anvil, and you meet this guy in a tavern, and he sells you a mansion really cheap in town. And of course, there's a catch. You get there and you're like, oh, this is a good deal. And your first night, and you're awoken by wraiths that you have to fight, and the mansion's haunted, and you discover the story about this evil necromancer in the basement that is, you know, he's still actually there, and he tricks you into you think you're renewing the house, and you get a mage to exorcise the house, but really you resurrect him and you have to fight him, and it's pretty darn original. Like, I'd say these are S tier actually, because of like just the nostalgia, just very well done. I will wait on the rest of these for the Daedric. Although I will say the Daedric rankings. Through a Nightmare Darkly is kind of a neat. It's basically there's this guy in the Mage Guild that has found a way to transport himself into another world and his mind, and he's trapped there, and you have to actually like dream meld with him, and you discover that he has to go through these different trials to escape, and you do them for him, and you get him out, and it's very intriguing. It's like, you know, it's just a very well thought out quest. Let's see if I can remember if this is what I think it is. This is pretty funny. There's this orc knight in Cyrodiil, and she's written in a way that she's very brave, and she's very she's strong, and she's good at her job, but she wants to become a knight, and she's just got that kind of Don Quixote kind of, except for Don Quixote, you know, she could be a knight, and she does become one, but she's just very single-minded in her focus. Like you can tell that she um is just quirky and funny, and it's just very humorous. It's just a very well written quest. Um, a brush with that, I would say, is an S tier. That's where you go to Shidenall and you discover that there's a famous painter that lives in town, and he actually traps himself in one of his paintings, and you have to go in, and there's a whole painted world. It's just very, very creative. Um, Canvas in the Castle. Speaking of paintings, Canvas in the Castle is pretty good. Where you act out this countess. There's a mystery of there's a missing painting, and you have to find it. And yeah, you have to play detective, and you have to talk to the different members of the castle, and it's pretty novel. Mazoga the orc actually might be the Wayward Knight. Oh no, the Wayward Knight is not. Well, I think Mazoga the orc is actually what I'm thinking of. Where'd that go? It is in the world. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Go. Yeah, Mazoga the orc is he's the becomes a knight, and we join her. And we become knights of Leowyn, and it's really neat to see her just like have her dream, and just very well, just an entertaining storyline. Um, they really have all the quests here. The Ritual of Mania or Dementia is good from the Shivering Isles, where you have to decide who dies, the Duke of Mania or the Duchess of Dementia, and there's a ritual that they have to go that you do to become them. But we chose the Duke of Mania, which basically there's a type of psychedelic that we gave him that he dies from. This was called green mote, and he basically implodes from pleasure or something. Like, it's over the top, ridiculously, it's just silly. But he basically has a psychedelic experience, and has a heart attack and dies from. It's like almost like drinking way too much at once or something, but it almost has like a psychedelic feel to it. Um, Skingrad Paranoia. This is the Glarthur quest, and that's pretty good. There's this guy in Skingrad who thinks everyone is out to get him, and basically called Glarthur Wood Elf, and he has all these, like, you have the traditional conspiracy theory kind of like pin board with all the different photos linked together, and he's like that, where he tells you to spy on people, and you spy on all these people, and if you tell him that, if you confirm his conspiratorial thoughts, he'll confide in you. Um, but eventually he suspects you, of course, no matter what you do. But he really suspects you if you don't confirm his paranoia. If you tell him, like, I follow these people and they don't even know you're on the map. When he's like, these people are following me, you'll go talk to them. They're like, oh, Glarthur, isn't he that like weird wood elf that kind of like watches me every once in a while? And so like it's all in his head, and he eventually attacks you, unfortunately, and you have to kill him, or the town guard kills him, and you if you go into his house, you see all these conspiracies. He has a book of conspiracy theories, and the irony is some of them are true if you know the Skyrim lore, but he also has a lot of BS kind of stuff, and you just it's over the top. It's really um let's see. Rebuilding the gatekeeper is kind of interesting in a Frankenstein kind of way. Um it's a good story. I just don't like that the lady that makes the gatekeepers is one of the more evil characters in the Elder Scrolls series that I've seen, and that she resurrects people to torture them, and when they die, she resurrects and tortures them again. Which, outside of maybe Molag Bal, like I don't really see like a lot of characters that are like that evil. So I kind of like takes the quest down a few pegs because it's kind of it's kind of depressing. But the idea of like kind of creating this like golem out of different like body parts, and just the creativity of like almost that sort of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein sort of feel to it does make it pretty cool. So I would, yeah, I'd say it's actually pretty neat. Um, Addiction is a crazy one. That's where you're working for the Duke of Mania, and he sends you on this quest, and he gives you something and you take it. It's a drug, and then he sends you on this quest, and if you don't go on the quest to get the antidote, it's basically gives you drug. You're not allowed to really ask about what it is. You just take it, and then you're like you have if you don't get the antidote and you go through withdrawal, it'll kill you. You're basically like so like that kind of like I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Crank, but it's kind of like Crank, where you're just trying to get enough energy to like keep going. It's pretty, it's pretty good. It's a dark quest, but it's well done. Um, Ghost of the Hill of Suicides. Um, I forget if I went on that quest, but the Hill of Suicides is an interesting concept in the Shivering Isles, where if you die in the Shivering Isles, you almost like Dante Inferno reappear on like this hill out in the morose swamps, and you like it's I don't know, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, a lot of these I would know. I just put this on for fun. I didn't really think that we were going to do all of these by any means. I just wanted to see to test my mind. I mean, I could remember from just looking at the titles, not even you know seeing some stills from the quest, or reading anything about the quest. Um, the Forlorn Watchman is good. Forlorn Watchman is like this kind of pirate that ghost, and you discover that he has a treasure buried in the ship that's nearby, and you basically talk to him about it, and I forget everything involving the quest. I think you actually help him out. Then he, resolves some issues so he can pass on to the next life, and then he gives you um directions to where his treasure is, and his treasure is on this pirate ship where there's a wraith, and you have to fight this wraith ghost, and there's all this craziness. It's pretty good. Um, Pulled one up here somewhere. Oh, the boots of Springfield Jack, maybe. The boots of Springfield Jack. Like, there's this manor in Cyrodiil in the Imperial City, and there's a vampire there, and it's part of the. It's one of the main quest lines. Wish I could remember the names of some of these quests that are going on in my head. Yeah, just on names alone, it's hard for me to remember all of these different things. Um, let's see. Oh, the Hist. The Hist is crazy. You discover that you're going through the Fighters Guild, and you discover that how do you say, well, I don't know. You discover that competing guild that's taking all the Fighters Guild contracts, the Blackwood Company out of Leowin, they basically have a Hist tree, and it's run by Argonians. Now, Argonians use Hist as some kind of like spiritual medium that improves their physiology, but they give it to all these members that aren't Argonian, and you join the Blackwood Company. And one of the darkest moments in Oblivion, as far as quest lines go for a main character, you join the Blackwood Company, you take the Hist, and you basically trip really hard. You don't remember what happened. You kill all this village full of goblins that are attacking this village. You think you're contracted to defend this village, and later when your high wears off, you realize that you killed all the villagers. It's like a really like intense moment in the game where you're just like, what have I done? It's pretty crazy. Um, it's depressing but well written. Um, just trying to. I know the Wayne Priory. When you first go to the Priory, is almost on its own, like just like almost like has this very romantic kind of like Kingdom Come Deliverance one sort of traditional like medieval kind of experience where you're near Quarrel, which is a very traditional medieval style city, and the abbey is humble but very beautiful, and the chapel's humble, but there's a lot of the stained glass, and it's just a very I don't know, kind of nostalgic kind of, and that's the first beginning of the main quest. So it's pretty entertaining. Um, Yeah, if I remembered the names, you know what it corresponded the titles of the quest to what the quest was. Because I remember quest, and I'm trying to remember the title of it. Yeah, yeah. Oh, who done it? I think that's. I could be wrong, but I think that's where you're in the Dark Brotherhood, and you basically have to assassinate everyone at this dinner party, but you have to isolate them one by one and kill all of them, and you have to do it so the others don't know, and it's like pretty like Assassin's Creed level. I don't know. I've never played Assassin's Creed, but I imagine it's Assassin's Creed level, kind of like um just you have to be very stealthy. It's very entertaining, and you know it's humorous in a way. The way different the all of the inter party people are characters, and um, I think Watery Grave is where you join the Mage Guild in Shidenal, and the chapter head is very possessive of his position. And although you're just trying to get to the university, he thinks you're trying to thwart to take his position. So he gives you this task to retrieve a ring from a well. I think I said this earlier, and you basically you dive deep into the well, and you find this dead body, and the ring's on it, and it's from another former mage apprentice. And if you put on the ring, it's a ring of burden. So he's trying to drown you down there. It's crazy. Um, I can't remember, but there's like a quest where in Skingrad, the Count of Skingrad is, spoilers, but I imagine if you're watching this video, you're getting a lot of spoilers, is a vampire. And you discover that one of his court attendants, well, if you ever get locked up in prison for any reason in Skingrad, you go on this quest. I don't know if it's like you have to get someone out of prison or if you get locked up, but basically she'll take the people thrown in prison in Skingrad and make them disappear, and then add them to the count's wine cellar. In the casks have blood instead of wine, and it's very morbid but very entertaining. I can't remember. Um, there's the Sheogorath quest where um you basically, this isn't the Shivering Isles, but the she I probably want to wait for the Daedric quest, but you convince all these villagers that the apocalypse is happening. Um, their own apocalypse, not the overarching one. The villagers have their own mythology, and basically he makes all the thing. You help him make all the things come true by tricking the villagers. Then he does the final thing, which is making flaming dogs fall from the sky, which is very entertaining. Um, Dang, I think I remembered from just the titles more than I thought I would. So that's good. I think Revenge Served Cold is where you're part of the correct me on this one. Yeah, I'm probably get a lot of, I'm just trying to work off of memory. My memory is not like the world champion of remembering. But I would say I think this one is where you are part of the Dark Brotherhood and you have to assassinate somebody and they're in Bruma and it's like an old member of the Dark Brotherhood or somehow connected in some kind of way and you have to like or he's trying to uncover the Dark Brotherhood and he has a Minotaur head over his mantle and he sits down on this chair underneath it and you basically find a way to sneak behind, unhook the Minotaur head, and have it fall on him. And it's just a lot of stealth, but also very like I don't know, it's morbid but entertaining. So many good quests. Can't believe it's been a year, guys. Goblin Trouble, I didn't play during this round, but I remember from when I first played Oblivion, there's this quest where you uncover this town and they're trying to build their town. You're stuck between two rival goblin factions that are fighting each other, and you have to basically stop one of the factions or both and then save the town. And it's kind of a, lone sheriff restoring the law to a local town kind of thing where you have, two, like, it's like the what's the Hatfields and the McCoys that are fighting all the time. And you have to kind of, get between those two tribes and clear them out so that the town can flourish. And it's very entertaining. But yeah, it's all good. It's a very entertaining game. This I will just put all the rest of these in the don't remember, and I'm sure there's some that I didn't do because there are just so many. I think Mankar Cameron's Paradise was like pretty entertaining in that like you basically it's part of the main quest and he's serving under Mehrunes Dagon and he has his own realm in Oblivion, but it's not like the hellscape that Oblivion is. It's like this paradise, like, and it's very well designed, like the atmosphere of it. It's just very romantic and it's like this beautiful like forest filled with ruins and it's like the Aelid ruins, but if they were not ruins but they're restored, I guess, like, and just very beautiful. Okay, I could do this all day. Let me know in the comments what some of your favorite quests were. I'm intrigued. So, or if there are any quests that you'd recommend for me to do for my side quest series from Oblivion that I might have missed during the playthrough. And for the Daedric Sphere, I would say super tier. I would put Jiggalag in super tier. Jiggalag is the Daedric Prince of Order. I really like the Shivering Isles DLC, and I like the madness and the just the beautiful styles to it all. But when you see the different characters that are, and the insanity that's going on, it's very beautiful and interesting, but it's also like insane and crazy and scary. So Jigleg representing order is kind of like a symbol of what do you call like sanity at the end of it all that you can kind of follow. That being said, but she Gorth up there, it's super cute. I feel like the Shivering Isles DLC is the best Daedric Prince quest in the entire game in Elder Scrolls period so far. Just very well done. Um, all the rest of these, as far as Oblivion goes, I would say like her scene, you get to fight some Minotaurs and you get a unicorn. You kill a unicorn, which is pretty novel. But I feel like all of these, the rest of the Daedric Princes, like Skyrim does 10 times better. Like the Skyrim Daedric quests, in a lot of ways, I feel are the stars of Skyrim quests. Like they're just very entertaining. And Skyrim has a lot of entertaining quests, side quests as well. But I feel like the Daedric Prince quests, they really go all out. Where I feel like Oblivion is a little less so, in my opinion. Like the quests aren't as entertaining. Again, Sanguine, you have this party and you get them all drunk and they all like run out in their you get them all high or something and they all run out of the castle in their underwear and it's kind of silly and they're just being just as it's humorous. Clavicus Vile, I can't remember what was his. I actually have this up here so I can look over Clavicus Vile to kind of remind me. Um, you have to kill someone to get this Umbra sword, I think. Umbra is like a magical sword that talks in Elder Scrolls, but I thought it wasn't that memorable. I feel like the Clavicus Vile quest in Skyrim is one of the most memorable Daedric quests, especially with Barbas, his pet dog, is very the star of the show. Hermaeus Mora, you have to collect all the different races. You have to kill a character from every race in Skyrim in Tamriel, which is kind of morbid, but on the same token, it's kind of interesting to see that he uses that knowledge to like just edify himself about it just is he's evil in the pursuit of knowledge, I guess. Meridia, you have to clear out some necromancers. It's okay. Periite we didn't do, so we'll leave it down here. Narmina. Um, I don't know if I did Narmina. I thought I did. Okay. There were some I didn't do, I guess. Well, no, the priest are okay. I didn't. The only one I didn't do is Nermina and Perrier, I think. For Mina, she had this wizard that was trapped in his dreams because she's the Daedric Prince of Dreams and Nightmares, and some of the most horrific things you see in the game that will keep you up at night are from this quest. Like you go try to liberate him and you just see like all these like hanging corpses suspended in darkness going on forever, and it just is like whoa, that's just like one of the many things that she has just upper sleeve as far as like just to scare the crap out of you. Um, the Fala. Oh, you go to this town, you turn the two big families in the town against each other. I mean, it's depressing, but it's an interesting quest. Um, Azura. What does Azura do? Oh, you have to kill some vampires. There's just so many vampire quests in the game. Um, Malakath, you have to like liberate some orcs. Molig Ball is one of the more memorable quests in Skyrim, but I can't even think of his quest offhand right now. Um, oh, this is kind of dark. You have to ruin this guy's life. Um, you have to get him to attack you, and he's like a man of peace, and he's like a veteran, and his wife has died, and the way you get him to attack you is you drop a mace in front of his wife's grave, and only then will he like he's very disciplined. Only then does he break and attack you, and that way Molig Ball is the Prince of Domination is satiated, and that him attacking you got him to submit to what you wanted, and it's like, yeah, Molig Ball's messed up. I mean, like, it's a good quest in that it's an interesting state of human nature, but it's not a fun quest. It's a depressing, like, not good quest. That same Maroon Stagon is up there in the top as far as the apocalypse being the main event of this of Oblivion, the main game. Nocturnal. What does Nocturnal do? I get the skeleton key. You can unlock any lock. It's kind of a neat sort of key you get, and each of them kind of has an artifact that they give you, and it's kind of neat that the artifacts carry throughout the game, so you can at least, I don't know about Morrowind, but at least in Skyrim you can get pretty much the same artifacts you can get in Oblivion. But oh, you have to kill some Argonians. I think that I don't think you have to kill them. I think I found a way to not kill them and still get her. What did she want? She wanted her eye. I stole her eye, which is crazy. It was okay. Um, Boethia. Boethia. Is it Boethia or Bothia? Oh, this was like you go to his realm and you fight a bunch of monsters, and I got lost there and it took me forever, and you go to this tournament, and I think in theory it's kind of interesting, but it becomes like an arena quest, but it lasts forever, which is annoying, and that's also in Oblivion, which is hellish and depressing, and so it just is like, I don't know, that's not my favorite. um let's see. So, um, all right, you got the Daedric Princes done. Let's see. This one I found kind of interesting in that it's sort um of realms like in the game that aren't part of the game. So you have to like you have to you have to go to them in a way that takes you out of Cyrodiil. So I'd say, speaking of, there's the realm of Weithia, like if you can't rise above the all the challenges, you're stuck fighting things in Oblivion forever. So I mean, you do feel a sense of accomplishment when you finally, get out of it. But like, it's definitely like pretty crazy. I can't remember Arkved's Tower. Oh, that's the Mafala Dream World. It's nightmare fuel, but it's good. Oh, but in its own way, it's the Deadlands. I can't remember what the Deadlands are, but it's an Oblivion area. Painted World, super tiered. That's where you go into the artist's painting. Mankar Cameron's Paradise is really good. Some of these are also, it's both Skyrim and Oblivion, so why not? Also, if I remember, I'll do the Skyrim ones too. But I think the Deadlands are from Skyrim, I think. No, that's the Soulcarn. I don't know about. Oh yeah, Henkar's Dream World is good. That's where you're in that where you're helping that mage overcome those challenges. Shivering Isles, hex yeah. Shivering Isles is probably my favorite. Well, actually, we'll do this. Azura Star was pretty cool to begin with. It got a little repetitious inside. It had a beauty to it though. I can't remember Rumjar's Sanctuary. Apocrypha I actually found to be like, it's pretty entertaining when you first go, but after a while it just becomes like Oblivion. It just is super repetitious, and I don't know. Not my favorite. Misty Groves is really good. That's Sanguine's kind of Bacchus area, but it's very peaceful, and it's kind of a misty with trees and rivers, and just very, very beautiful. They got a dinner set, and people are eating, and revelry. The Soulcarn is really cool in that it does, if you get lost there, it gets a little repetitious, but it does have a kind of Souls of the Dead kind of beauty, almost like a more Greek style, like Hades, than the Dante's Inferno, or kind of it's kind of like a purgatory or something. I don't know. It's interesting. Sovngarde, the Nord's Paradise. Sovngarde's pretty awesome. And the Mind of the Madman, that's Emperor. You go into Emperor Pelagius's head, and the Sheogorath's Daedric quest, and Sheogorath's Daedric quest in Skyrim. At any rate, so that's a lot of information, but I like to kind of, how do you say, just kind of recap on do a ranking video after I played through a big game. I can't believe it's been a year. I greatly appreciate you guys. I hope some of you guys watched all the videos. And I hope I was entertaining, and you just got to enjoy the realm of the Cyrodiil with me, and Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and yeah, maybe we'll do Skyrim next. So pretty soon we're gonna play a brand new game, start a playthrough. I'll probably be putting some polls up again soon. I already put some polls up earlier, and getting kind of an idea of what I think you guys would like me to do. But yeah, keep an eye on the polls, and we'll see you guys again soon for another adventure with Donald Plays.